Independence Day. How we recognize this wonderful gift that symbolizes freedom, unity, and identity of the Filipino. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Ace Azarcon from Group 6, presenting this amazing occasion, this event that unchained us into invaders who massacres our mighty ancestors. The battle between different countries. The sacrifices made by our heroes. But first, how this independence really happened. It was started at the outbreak of the Spanish-American War, where Commodore George D. Wade defeated Spanish in the Battle of Manila Bay. Ang araw ng kalayaan ng Pilipinas na pinagdiriwang tuwing Hunyo 12 ay isang mahalagang pagdiriwang sa kasaysayan ng ating bansa. A little fun fact about Independence Day in the Philippines. It was originally celebrated on July 4th, the same day as American Independence Day, due to the country's history with the United States. However, in 1962, President Diosdado Macapagal moved the celebration to June 12 to commemorate the date in 1898 when Philippine independence was first declared by Emilio Aguinaldo.
Hi, my name is Stephen Cyrus R. Valleta. I will be the next representative for Group 6. So starting off, ang kaganapang ito ay nagmarka ng isang makasaysayang yugto sa ating kasaysayan, kung saan pinakita ng mga Pilipino ang kanilang tapang at determinasyon na maging malaya. On this day, we gather to honor the heroes who sacrificed their life for our freedom and to celebrate our identity as a free and sovereign nation. Here's another fun fact. The Philippine Independence Day on June 12 is celebrated with the reenactment of the historic raising of the Philippine flag at Aguinaldo's residence in Cavite. This flag ceremony is a significant part of celebrations symbolizing the country's struggle for freedom and the triumph of the Filipino unity.
Hi everyone, I'm Juan Miguel Tirado, reporting with Altea.
I am Altea Caballero and we are reporting about Independence Day of the Philippines. During the day, the atmosphere was a mix of triumph and solemnity. Filipino leaders and citizens were jubilant about achieving long-sought independence. But there was also an awareness of complexities of transition. The American influence lingered through the signing agreements such as the Bell Trade Act and the Military Bases Agreement, which some saw as maintaining a form of neo-colonial control, despite the formal end of colonial rule. The celebration were a significant moment of national pride but also underscored the challenges facing the newly independent nation. Spain also ruled the Philippines for over 333 years. The Spanish goals for colonizing the Philippines were both economic and spiritual. Spain wanted to find an alternative route to the Moroccos that would circumvent the Portuguese. Another fun fact, the only two men signed the Declaration of Independence. Charles Thomson and the infamous John Hancock were the only two men who actually signed the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. The other 52 declares signed over the course of the next month.
The U.S. proclaimed the Philippines from Japan and granted the country independence on July 4, 1946, aligning with U.S. Independence Day. This act was framed as a fulfillment of American promises and a continuation of its civilizing mission, reflecting ideals of manifest destiny and the white man's burden. On July 4, 1946, the Philippines officially celebrated its independence from the United States in a ceremony held at the Luneta Park in Manila. The event was attended by both U.S. President Harry S. Truman and Philippine President Sergio Osmeña. The ceremony featured the raising of the Philippine flag and the reading of a Declaration of Independence. Since achieving its independence on June 12, 1898, the country has consistently upheld the values of community, resilience, and courage shown by its people. Honoring this day involves learning from the country's history and promoting Filipino culture and traditions. Fun facts: we didn't actually declare independence on the 4th of July. One of the greatest misconceptions of the 4th of July lies in the name and date. It is widely believed that America declared their independence from Britain on July 4, 1776. However, the official vote actually took place 2 days before and the declaration was published in papers on July 4.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Gerard Waibaha. Our topic is about the importance of Philippines Independence Day to Filipinos. That is to be answered by my partner, Iris Rain. But before we switch to my partner and answer that question, we first need to know what this Independence Day is first and to get to know it better. So, what is the Philippines Independence Day? The Philippines Independence Day is an event celebrated by Filipinos in every June 12 every year. This particular date is a reminder of our ancestors' struggles for freedom against the Spanish rule. This is the day we mark our independence against the Spanish rule. Therefore, us Filipinos made this day a national holiday that we know of today. Okay, next would be the reflection of the Independence Day in the Philippines. This occasion is a symbol of our ancestors, heroes, struggles, sacrifices, and bravery while fighting for our nation's independence during the Spanish rule. This day is a reflection of our country's ultimate freedom from the Spanish colonial rule, which also reflects the Filipino resilience, pride, unity during those times. It also commemorates liberation from colonial rule, which holds us an important place to the hearts of all Filipinos. And because of this event, our country's sovereignty is appreciated, instilling nationalism in the citizens, as well as celebrating the culture and tradition of its people. Our next question is, what did the Filipinos learn from their Independence Day? The Philippines Independence Day teaches some important lessons. It teaches them to value freedom. It also teaches Filipinos to unite and help each other to achieve a common goal, teaching them to be brave and that facing challenges is crucial for overcoming obstacles and achieving long-term goals. Our next and last question is about what does the Philippine Independence Day represent to Filipinos, or even if not Filipinos. It that day represents that we Filipinos can also fight back. We won't let just anyone colonize us, even if we don't have the power to. It represents our ancestors and heroes' bravery, courage, and sacrifice they made for a change, and to bring back what's ours, making this day an important day for us since this day is the day that those people's work has come into fruition. The Philippines was freed from the Spanish colonization, though we are colonized by the Americans after all that, but we won't talk about that. So, in shorter words, Philippines Independence Day is the day that marked the end of over 300 years of Spanish colonization and the beginning of Philippines' journey to nationhood. To you, Iris.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayus Reynesa Valerio and I'm here to tell everyone what is the importance of Independence Day for us Filipinos and why do we celebrate Independence Day. Independence Day, Araw ng Kasandilan, or also known as Araw ng Kalayaan or Day of Freedom, a national holiday in the Philippines observed annually on June 12, commemorating the declaration of the Philippines' independence from Spain in 1898. Since 1978, it has been the country's national day. It is a day that reminds us Filipinos the sacrifices made by the freedom fighters. This day marked the end of over 300 years of colonization, which started the beginning of Philippines' journey to nationhood. Since our current This day marked the end of 300 years of Spanish colonization, which started the beginning of the Philippines' journey to nationhood, since our country was freed but was brought under the Americans' control, which helped our country grow economically and politically. It asserted the sovereignty and independence of the Philippine island from 300 years of colonial rule from Spain. It is not only important to celebrate this holiday, but it is also important not to forget its significance for the Philippines. This day is not just a regular holiday. It is a day that Filipinos remember the courage and sacrifices by soldiers and heroes who fought for our motherland. Inspired by their strength to fight and dedication to free the country against colonizers, should be remembered by the generations of today and years to come. More than remembering our hard-earned freedom, may this day be an opportunity to appreciate Filipino heritage and tradition. It marks the nation's autonomy and reflects the cultural pride and flourishing of the Filipino diaspora.
Hi, my name is Lara Marie T. Fresco, the next reporter of Group 6. Ano nga ba ang nangyari matapos maganap ang Independence Day sa Pilipinas o Philippines? The proclamation of Independence Day in the Philippines on June 12, 1898 had a profound impact on the country's history and society. Here are some of the key effects. First, end of Spanish colonialism. It symbolized the end of over 300 years of Spanish rule in the Philippines. Although it was not immediately recognized by foreign countries, this proclamation was significant in asserting the Filipinos' desire for freedom. Second, birth of the nationalist movement. Independence Day inspired various movements for nationality or national sovereignty and independence. Movements for education, culture, and economy intensified after the proclamation of freedom. Third, establishment of the first Philippine Republic. The first Philippine Republic was established on January 23, 1899 with Emilio Aguinaldo as president. marking the first attempt of Filipinos to establish an independent government. Here's a fun fact about Independence Day in the Philippines. The Philippines is one of the few countries to have celebrated Independence Day on two different dates. Remember, two different dates. In Independence Day, initially Independence Day was celebrated on July 4 to commemorate the day in 1946 when the United States recognized Philippine independence after World War II. However, in 1962, President Diosdado Macapagal changed the date to June 12 to honor the Declaration of Independence from Spanish rule in 1898 by General Emilio Aguinaldo.
Yo, it's me, Angelo Gocros, and now I will discuss about this topic, Independence Day. So, let's start. The proclamation of Independence Day in the Philippines on June 12, 1898 had a profound impact on the country history and society. Here's some of the key effects. Number 1. End of Spanish. Colonialism, it symbolized the end of over 300 years of the Spanish rule in the Philippines. Crazy, right? Although it was not immediately recognized by foreign countries, this proclamation was significant, is asserting the Filipinos' desire for freedom. A nationalist movement. Independence Day inspired various movements for national sovereignty and independence movement for education, culture, and economy. Intensified after the proclamation of the freedom. Number 3, war against the Americans. Although independence from Spain was declared, the Philippines faces a new colonizer, the United States. The Philippines-American War began in 1899, resulting in the defeat of the Filipino forces. This led to another phase of colonialism, this under the Americans. Number 4, establishment of the First Philippine Republic. The First Philippine Republic was established on January 23, 1899 with Emilio as the president, marking the first attempt of Filipinos to establish an independence government. Number 5, establishment of independence as a national identity. Independence Day became an important part of Filipino national identity. It serves as a reminder of the struggle for freedom and continues to inspire current fights for sovereignty, rights, and democracy. Number 6, development of government and economy. The proclamation of independence also motivated Filipinos to strive for the establishment of political and economic institutions that would help them to progress as a free nation. Although the Philippines did not immediately achieve the full independence, after the proclamation in 1898, it was a crucial step toward gaining independence for various foreign powers in shaping a national identity.
Following the Second World War, some Filipinos were disappointed with the idea that the Americans granted Filipino independence as a sign of gratitude in the face of the colonial experience. For them, while the United States had given the Filipinos political independence, the country remained economically and militarily dependent on its former colonial master. For instance, from their point of view, the signing of treaties with Washington kept the Philippines under the American sphere of influence during the Cold War, or the Bell Trade Act in 1946 and the Military Bases Agreement in 1947. These nationalist Filipinos, mostly statesmen and intellectuals
who were part of the Second Republic or members of sympathizers of the Partido Comunista ng Pilipinas, have argued that the Americans have only given the Filipinos their desired independence in minimalist terms but have remained in effective control over the country's sovereignty. This was the beginning when neocolonialism and imperialism became their point of contention against the country's continued regression and anemic economic development in the post-colonial setting. From their point of view, these so-called American neocolonialism and imperialism have remained the cause of problems for the Philippines. Teodoro Agoncillo, a Filipino historian, even dedicated a chapter tackling neocolonialism and imperialism in his Philippine history textbook, or so-called The History of the Filipino People in 1960, according to Lisandro Claudio in 1927. In his preface to the second edition of State and Society in the Philippines, Agoncillo's overview is more than just a textbook. It became sort of a Bible for the anti-colonial or nationalist movement in the Philippines in the 1960s to 70s. With this zeitgeist of anti-Americanism came the changing of the date of independence in the Philippines. In 1962, nearly 2 decades since the country had been celebrating the 4th July Day of Independence, President Diosdado Macapagal, in an unprecedented move, issued a proclamation moving the day commemorating Philippine independence from 4th of July to 12th of June. The reason behind Macapagal's decision was his soaring relationship with the United States. Historian Joseph Scalise had argued that Macapagal's bold move stemmed from the Harry Stonehill scandal, followed by a falling out with Washington, which affected the Filipino veterans' pension benefits in return for their service in fighting against the Japanese during the World War. Historian Reynaldo Ilieto in 2016 also shed light on his historical narrative. Ilieto discovered that the Philippine Historical Association, or the PHA, one of the biggest historical organizations in the country, founded in 1955, was also behind the idea of moving Independence Day from 4th of July to 12th of June. The PHA and its members, mostly historians who were antipathetic to the United States, they wanted to bring into public discourse the concept of the so-called unfinished revolution. How did the PHA play a part in Macapagal's decision? Well, Gabriel Fabella, the PHA's first president and chairperson of the University of the Philippines History Department at the time, was the architect behind the idea. The PHA and its members wanted to promote, revive the concept of the Philippine Revolution in the late 1950s. And they saw an opportunity in 1962. As for Macapagal, he used the unfinished revolution to express his bitterness against the United States. But for PHA and its members, changing the Day of Independence back to the First Republic's Day of Independence Declaration was consciously critical, especially for nationalist historians in the PHA like Fabella and Agoncillo. From then on, Macapagal started using the same language and grammar as the nationalist intellectuals who had long questioned American neocolonialism and imperialism. In his words, Macapagal has stated that it is only correct to recognize 12 of June as the Day of Independence, as the Philippines was the first successful national revolution in Asia since the coming of the West, and the republic to which it gave birth was the first democratic republic outside the Western Hemisphere. What is also interesting to consider is Macapagal's Independence Day speech the following year in 1963, where he first coined the term unfinished revolution. Our national revolution may thus be said to have been interrupted 6 decades ago, so that today and for a time to come, we are faced with the remaining task of the unfinished revolution. Macapagal, like the PHA, reminded the Filipinos that the duty and vision of the 19th century Philippine Revolution remain unfinished. Hence, it is right to remember the glorious revolutionary past, recognizing the Philippine Revolution and its revolutionaries as the zenith of Filipino assertion of power and identity. Macapagal continued to speak about the unfinished revolution during the Day of Recognition of Filipino revolutionary heroes like Andres Bonifacio. Macapagal was more than a nationalist. According to Scales, in 2020 and Ileto in 2016, the fallout with the Americans also shifted Macapagal's international interest. In this case, Macapagal made an effort to ally himself with Indonesia's Sukarno. Although coming from a liberal conservative political party, Macapagal found a similar revolutionary path that was comparable, sharing a similar rhetoric with Sukarno's idea of revolution. But Scales has argued that it was only a political move, given that Macapagal was eyeing support and alliance from a newly reborn Partido Komunista ng Pilipinas and the left in the 1960s. Since that time, the Philippines has continued to recognize and celebrate its Day of Independence on 12 June every year. From a post-colonial vantage point, we can assume that Macapagal's move was favorable and commendable. It was strong imposition of Filipino identity in a period when the Philippines was attempting to decolonize and distinguish itself on the regional and global theater. But the more important question is, how does Filipinos have come to regard the idea of independence? Does it remind them of the patriotism and nationalism that it achieved? Perhaps a celebration of freedom? Or is it just a mere holiday? In a country where the study of history appears to be in danger because of massive disinformation and the removal of Philippine history as the subject from secondary education, these questions not only require answers, but also reflect Filipino aspirations towards true freedom and independence as well.
Okay.